Hey, big blessings to you, family. I'm over here at Denver, a little Civic Center Park area, just taking care of the little bit of earth that we have left, yeah? So I want to acknowledge this real quick. There's a sign that says this area is closed for renovation and restoration, subject citation and ticketing. I've been making it a point to come up here and clean this little bit of earth that we have left. And not just clean this earth, but honestly, what I've been doing is planting a little bit of seeds from apples or from like little peppers and such, and then doing what we can. So, no disrespect to authorities that be, but I think if I could lend a hand, I do. And look around, there's not much earth left, and that's why I was explaining to somebody the other day, yesterday, and the day before. It's a lot of death from this earth. All this life used to be here. And for some, there's a lot of death, a lot of that was been, I guess, exchanged for this beautiful life. So what's here left, I'm trying to take care of to the best of my ability. So what I've done is take it upon myself, a little responsibility for this earth. You know what I mean? And it helps me heal. It's part of my healing process, is to connecting with this earth. And here this is where I planted some seeds today. You see the little feathers up, yeah? So I planted some seeds over here. See other little plants growing here, yeah? So we're gonna come out here, we're gonna grow what little bit we have left. And that's why I thought, how much of this is medicine that I don't know about? So I'm reading these indigenous knowledge, indigenous feminism. Gotta put another feather up. People, put your feathers up, yeah? Come on, worldwide, put your feathers up. Gracia, put your feathers up. Ecocide law, the rights of nature. What a perfect example. And whatever we're doing with our land here, maybe we're not doing enough good for her. Maybe progress isn't very progressive. You know what I mean? Someone mentioned that Denver's a very progressive city. Yet, there's not much we do with this besides look at it, yeah? Why isn't it functional if it's progressive? Why is it so destructive if it's progressive? That's actually destructive. So we might be one of the most destructive in hindsight or in actuality. So it's like, what have we progressed? And even these buildings that are LEED, I'm definitely an energy conservative kind of person in that regard, but even in these LEED buildings, LED, there's no plants, there's no vegetation, there's no actual life. It might save energy, but it's not producing life. And so to me, that's something to consider as well. There's a lot of skeletons that we got to put flesh on, is what I've been saying. So anyway, I've been out here trying to clean up this garden, and to me, it's like, why isn't this producing some type of food? Why isn't this a greenhouse? Why isn't this, in the summertime, why aren't people paid to clean this place? Why aren't we using herbs and medicines from this place? And it's just something to consider. But in that respect, I've been singing some blessings and playing this song, We Are a Voice. We Are a Voice. And I have some Hawaiian words that are really, really beautiful. And I hope that it's really a prayer for this earth. And I hope that it revives her a little bit and gives her some type of, she didn't know she was a beautiful, beautiful creature. She didn't know she was a beautiful, divine being, this earth, because she's only been extracted from. And you can see a perfect example of what settlers have done and what they pride themselves on, is the sitting on skins and hunting and skinning everything and killing everything. And to me, I think that's something to be re-examined. There's only noise out here, like I said, only destruction. There's no beautiful songs of prayers and gratitude for the love of life. So to me, I even gave peace offerings to this pioneer memorial. And, maybe they could do the same thing for the one thing that we have in common, which is this environment. You feel me? And so to me, I just want to share this experience with you. Feed the birds, feed this earth. Say a little grace, prayers, gratitude. Bring out my own little water out here, because there's no public drinking water fountains. It's crazy. I Googled it the other day, and I thought, where are the water fountains? Where can I get some clean drinking water for free? I'm out here cleaning up other, volunteering. I'm being productive. I try to help. I'm not a lazy person. But you can't get free water out here. What is that? Not clean free water. You know what I mean? So to me, I think that's kind of absurd. But I do bring, I guess, the best water I could find, and I bring it to water the seeds. And there's other seeds I put near water sources, so I don't have to really bring water. And hopefully they'll grow. And if not, at least I'm setting the intention to give this earth something, because I eat from this earth. So I want to give her something back. Yeah, it's like my mother, like she provides for me, so I want to give something back to her too. So I cook for her too when she ain't home. You know what I mean? Clean her house for her. You know what I mean? And it's like she does for me. I'm a conduit of her. You know what I mean? Of that love, an extension of what am I gonna do with that love? Well, she bought vegetables. I planted some seeds for her while she's at work, and I'm over here trying to work too. You know what I mean? So we're an extension of one another, just like our Mother Earth. We have to be an extension of her and a protector for her. Yeah, and just like our people in Brazil. You know, shout out to Brazil and the whole worldwide. Eagle and the Condor, baby, we are here. And from the heart of Turtle Island, I'll tell you, Pachamama, alive and well, you are protected. Indigenous people, Indigenous, you know, Mother Nature, celestial beings, Yahweh, Ashara, this breath of life that connects us, not in worship, but in respect. You understand? In unity of good for a commonality of what we have here. And that's what I say. You know, I pray for Yeshua HaMashiach, Ascended Master, for guidance, peace, and protection for this beautiful earth. And I meditated on that the other day. Yeshua HaMashiach. Yeshua is his name. And, there's a lot of things. I ask for peace, protection, and guidance for all of our people on this earth. And, a lot of people, he may be Anunnaki, and it might be because he asked to go see his father and ascended. Yeah, well, I'm Joseph. I asked to stay. And I'll put that where it is, but I still give praise and thanks to where I know, I believe I believe in the unity of good, and I believe in the goodness. And Yeshua HaMashiach, what he experienced from the politics and the abuse of this earth and the divine feminine and himself, what he experienced, who else can guide us to a better place than Yeshua HaMashiach, the ascended master? Not my master, but a ascended master. I am free. I affirm I am free in front of God's earth and all of humanity. And I ask Yeshua HaMashiach, ascended master, for peace, guidance, and protection of my mind, body, and soul, and for all of those indigenous peoples that are protecting this earth, all of the institutions that are in and all around us, in our states, in our governments, and our nations, and the continents. May there be peace, protection, and prosperity for all of those fighting for the truth of love, of life that sustains us, this beautiful earth, the natural resources, and those indigenous people who are connected to these things so intimately and so divinely. And I pray for Yeshua HaMashiach to wash over all of us. May we all have peace, protection, and prosperity in our divine purpose here. Remember, we're here for a reason. We're not separate from this earth. We are nothing but cells of this earth. We're like white blood cells. We're like that royal hemoglobin on this beautiful earth. You royal. You didn't know that? We're a part of this royalty that she is, yeah? Embody that, baby. Embody that. Watch that sun shine on us. Watch it shine right through us and every single 50 trillion plus cells that we have inside of our body. It's a beautiful thing. And as she wakes up, we wake up. As we wake up, she wakes up. You know what I mean? That breath of life that we all share between these plants, that passion that I feel coming from her as she awakens. You know what I mean? There might be noise and pollution around, but there's so much life and love. And a lot of people, I give these plants so much credit. They're out here just like me. How hard are they fucking fighting to survive? How hard are they remembering their true nature and where they come from and that divine essence that's within them from the beginning, from the very beginning. You know what I mean? That living water, that's divine feminine. You know what I mean? It's in these plants, it's in you and I from the very beginning. And it's something powerful about that I want to share with you. But in honor of that, I want to read you another piece of this book. Since we were talking about Sami people, I want to touch on this. And since we're talking about indigenous and the rights of nature, ecocide law, something I was definitely These buildings, these corporations have more rights than human beings at this point. More rights than this very, very nature that sustains us. And I want to bring that to the point. We need to exercise this and bring this to the table and actually implement this. And Honduras, or is it Ecuador? That might be one of the best places so that is putting it to actual example. They passed it in law years ago. I think it was 2018, and I read about that. But now the indigenous people and the local law, the government that's there, they're working together to implement that, you know what I mean? And protect each other with the systems that be. And they're standing against the destructive forces or energies. And it's a beautiful case of example to use. But I want to come back over here before we get to the Sami. But this is page 108 in the same book. Making Space for Indigenous Feminism, second edition by Joyce Green. So we're gonna go to, where were we at? I was reading this on the, where does it start here? This is a very good one. But this is the end of chapter, or what does it say? This is the end of a section, yeah? All right. We'll just say, Melliver explains. And since 1869, colonialist and patriarchal federal laws have fostered patriarchy in Aboriginal communities. And they're talking about Canada right here, so excuse me if I didn't say that. So, ooh. Yeah, you're gonna have to look at me because this wind's blowing. It's trying to stop us, yeah? Yeah. Amadou Khan. Not America Vespucci, but Amadou Khan. Amadou Khan. We were here long before Amerigo Vespucci. Remember that. Long before Star Spangled Banner was ever here. Yeah. Long before assimilation and broken trees, stolen land, and the raping of their own mother. Yeah. No. You don't have to stand for that. You don't have to stand against it. You can free yourself from all of these things and unite and remember who we are. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Anyway, so this is talking about politics of gendered violence in indigenous communities, and specifically in this section talking about Canada. We're just gonna go with it. Since 1869, colonialist and patriarchal federal laws have fostered patriarchy in Aboriginal communities and subjected Aboriginal women to the loss of Indian status and the benefits of band membership, eviction from reserve home, and denial of an equal share of matrimonial property. Colonialism and patriarchy have also enabled cooperation between male Aboriginal leadership and Canadian governments to resist the inclusion of Aboriginal women in Aboriginal governance. These denials and exclusions perpetuate the exposure of Aboriginal women and their children to violence and consign many to extreme poverty. Although Bill C-31 did not fully eliminate gender discrimination in the Indian Act, some Indigenous communities objected to it. According to the Sawbridge Band of Alberta, Bill C-31 constitutes of unjustifiable limitation on its Aboriginal right to determine its own band membership, which argues is protected by the Canadian Constitution. This band responded by enacting its own membership code to block re-enrollment of reinstated women. Invoking the cultural vulnerability of the community, the band constructed the women as outsiders and excluded them on their basis of their weak cultural affiliation. Although directed at women forced to relocate upon marriage, the Sawbridge Code also has ramifications for those still living in the community. Due to the band-defined demands and cultural authenticity and affiliation, women who experience violence may feel pressured not to report abuse for fear of being labeled as engaging in culturally inappropriate behavior and hence being disciplined for speaking out. Indigenous women's constitution of their subjugation and is commonly perceived by male leaders as a threat to the security of unity of their nations. And there's many citations on this one. And that's on page 109 of this book. It's a beautiful thing. So the nationalist disclosure maintains that any appeal to the outside authority diminishes the autonomy of the community, nation, imperiling the struggle for self-determination and diminishing traditional culture and decision-making process. Like the discourse of the fraternal masculinist nation in general. The male-driven indigenous nationalist discourse assumes that what is good for the nation is good for women. Let me say that again. Like the discourse of the fraternal masculinist nation in general, the male-driven indigenous nationalist discourse assumes what is good for the nation is good for women. It assumes what is good for the nation is good for women. Yet, indigenous male leadership has largely failed to ensure the basic safety and security of women. Community dynamics reinforce the alienation and vulnerability of women in violent relationships. Gendered violence is condemned, and family relations make it difficult to seek or receive help. Victims are often accosted with disbelief, anger, and family denial or betrayal. There are also obstacles related to the small size of the community, which has a lack of privacy, fear of ostracism, intimidation, and humiliation through gossip. Because of the lack of priority of funding, there is no safe place to go. Women and children are often forced to leave the community to find safety. Further, political realities and community dynamics can randomly constrain the interventive capacity for professional and community support services because victims are unlikely to seek help. The services can be also troubled by the lack of confidentiality, favoritism, and or hostility towards some of the families and lack of knowledge, experience, or protocols for dealing with victims of violence, all of which may result in re-victimization and abuser retaliation. Entrenched in patriarchal norms and practices render domestic violence against indigenous women as a private concern or family business. That's some part really deep there. And how many times have you heard that? Don't say this is a family business. That's what I told when I was raped. They said this is family business. Don't tell nobody. And I understand it was to protect, but they said don't tell nobody. This is family business. And it was kind of strange. When I was a kid, I was like 7. I was raped by my neighbor. Anyway, 6 years old, 5. So entrenched in patriarchal norms and practices render domestic violence against indigenous women as a private concern or family business and relegate indigenous women and women's rights to secondary position in their communities. Gendered violence is effectively depoliticized, and as a result, women's concerns are downgraded, devalued, or dismissed. Women's accounts of physical or sexual violence are not taken seriously, or victims are blamed for the violence they have experienced. Moreover, extended families often protect the male perpetrators of their violence rather than support female victims of violence. Inter- and intra-familial relations and obligations also may form barriers to acknowledge and addressing violence against women. The normalization of gendered violence in community life leads to public and private acceptance of violence and to not recognize acts of physical and sexual violence as violence. One of the main factors contributing to continuing cycles of violence in indigenous communities is the legacy of the residential school system. Jacobs and Williams, 2008. Anyway, there's a lot of citations in this, so I recommend you go read that. You know what I mean? But that's why I put the source on the book at least. But cite the sources, yeah? Then link the current safety and the survival of indigenous women to the residential schooling. In most cases, parents or grandparents of the missing and murdered indigenous women have attended residential school. Many interviewees spoke of the resulting family dysfunction and disconnect as impacting their lives and placing the women in vulnerable situations. Central in Canadian colonial policy from the late 19th century until well into the 20th century, the objective of the system was to eliminate Indian cultures and assimilate Indian people, remove family and community, and mandatory attendance at residential schools jointly operated by the state and the churches, disconnected children, indigenous children, from their families, cultures, and languages, while many were also physically, sexually, and mentally abused. The legacy of the system manifests in intergenerational trauma and a range of social ills such as substance abuse, interpersonal violence, suicide, homelessness, dependency, and low self-esteem. And I want to say that's really important. How many doctors are from outside of the indigenous cultures, systems, how many doctors or educators have been caught raping and molesting children? And I want to say that in churches, the schools, etc. And how many people are murdered on these reservations and they're American citizens, but they're not charged for murder because it didn't happen in the United States. It happened on a reservation. And we're supposed to have the most honorable, most elite military in the world, yet these beautiful, wonderful human beings who have been stolen from are getting murdered right on your doorstep. We over here fucking eating hot dogs on 4th of July talking about independence. You know what I mean? Having a hot dog eating contest and stuffing your face full of whiskey. When these children and these beautiful women, innocent, are getting murdered and no one's being charged. Yet, honorable ones. That's why I say, Amaru Khan over America. Yeah, it's not America West pussy. And I'll say that to the end. I'm getting sick of being told what is honorable. You know what I mean? By so many dishonorable people. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but man, let's wake up. And all these women and children on right in here next door to us. And you see on reservations, there's like museums or they call them recreational parks or national parks. And then there's a reservation right down the road from it is in poverty, but then the national park of their ancestors is in pristine condition, so you can go visit it like it's a zoo or a tourist attraction, like it's not somebody's home or sacred place. But then down the road you see a reservation that's in shambles. You know what I mean? And in poverty, and it's insane. Like, how can we live like that? How is that even somewhat just? How is that somewhat okay? Like, can we just think about that for a moment? And what are we doing? Care more about football games and competing with each other than harmonizing and helping each other and like looking like, what are we doing? Is this really a tourist attraction, or is this someone's sacred grandmother's ground? Like, is this someone's grandmother's home? Would I treat my grandmother's home the way I'm treating their home? Why am I doing it to their grandmother's home? Why? And that's like, consider these people, please. They're your people. They're our people. Like, please. And let's get back to the Sami people, because we spoke them into existence the other day. We got a book, so we're going to read on this section because it's really important to me. They have a very small community and they've been around for a long time, and they need to be. We all deserve a voice, and we can speak for one another. When we don't have a voice ourselves, then we're going to be okay. We're all connected, yeah? And I hear that call. I'm going to answer that as much as I possibly can with the most respect to all life that I possibly can. So, for the Sami women, for most Sami leaders in political institutions, such as the Sami parliaments, violence against women is not considered a priority. However, in the wake of the first of its kind study of violence against Sami women in Norway, the president of Sami parliament in Norway, Alain Keskitalo, issued a statement according to which violence in intimate relationships is unacceptable, and that it is damaging not only to the victims of violence but to the entire Sami society. She maintains that it is basic human right to grow up without fear of violence and live free of violence and threats of abuse. Let me say that again. She maintains that it is a basic human right to grow up without a fear of violence, to live free of violence and threats and abuse. Is that a basic human right? Is that a basic, not just human-centric life? That's what I said. So we just think about, if that's a basic human right, is that a basic life for all creatures? To not live in fear of violence, threats, and abuse. According to her, our objective is to ensure proper conditions to grow up in safe and attractive Sami communities, which requires that we take seriously what we now know, It is unclear who she refers by we, the Executive Council of the Sami Parliament, the Sami Parliament as a whole, or the Sami people in general. And the statement did not identify a plan of action to address the problem. It is significant, however, that Kalestikalo raised the issue as a priority, urging others to follow her lead. Up until Kalistalo's leadership in the issue, violence against women has not been considered a priority by Sami leadership and political institutions. Thus far, the Sami parliaments have typically paid non-gendered lip service to the issue. It is in its 2009-2013 strategic plan for equality, the Norwegian Sami parliament identified 3 priority areas, one being the prevention of violence in local communities, with the objective of strengthening culturally appropriate support services in Sami language. This section is vague and brief, and somewhat surprisingly, the plan does not prioritize data collection on violence in Sami society in general, and on violence against Sami women in particular. In its response, the community, and that's important because when they do these surveys of this data, you might not see it, know it's an issue because they never looked into it. And so it's important that we do our own. Like when you can conduct your own surveys and bring it and have data of your own and not wait for someone else to get it. I'm not an expert in any of this and I don't claim to, but I think it's extremely important because there's data that's being presented, but they never, and so if a politician or somebody at one of these big offices or high towers receives some data, oh, this is the statistics going on in this reservation or this indigenous community. But these other women are ghosted. And I've experienced this at Adams State University myself, where indigenous population is completely invisible. Because you have Mexicans who are actually indigenous people fighting that they're Spanish against colonialism and Western Europeans in the heart of Turtle Island. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about the indigenous people? No one mentioned the Native Americans that are here. No one mentioned, but you talk about Spain like we're in Europe, and you talk about England like we're in Europe, but we're in the heart of Turtle Island where indigenous people are. And there's nothing against Spain or Europeans. I'm vouching for them right here. I have a lot of respect for that, but I'm saying when you become invisible, it's important to become each other's voices. And for those who are empowered to take it out of, taking their own interest and maybe just go visit a community instead of taking someone else's words behind it, because we have been corrupted and we have limited reach, but together we are unlimited. We are no different than what it says. Unlimited eyes and reach everywhere. And innumerable arms and legs and eyes and reach everywhere, because you are God. I am an extension. You are an extension. And so we have a limited reach, but together we are limitless and boundless, baby. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing. But back to this. I've seen it myself, though, at universities where a population becomes invisible because they're so distracted of proving a point for one another your population becomes invisible, which is insane to me because we're in the heart of Turtle Island, right? But we're fighting against politics. And so that's what the design is to put divisive, right? Divide and conquer. It's a divide and conquer tactic. Let me fight so hard against them and waste all this energy that all these other people are getting murdered and poisoned right in front of our faces. And we don't even care. We don't even acknowledge them because they don't have a voice. They don't even know that they're indigenous to this land. They think that they were brought over on a ship. They think that they're from Europe. They speak our language. Like, hold on. What about these people who come from this land that we're on? Why can't we uplift them as well as ourselves? With each other. That's what I'm saying. That really makes my heart feel something for these people, because I've seen it myself at a very, very, very divisive university built on politics and competition. And you'll take a walk down that river and they have marathons running on this river, which is a divine feminine. It's very symbolic. They run marathons on this river when it's frozen and they pollute it. I went and picked up trash on this, volunteering for the Ocean Conservancy, yeah? And then you have it's just a divisive thing. It's just politics. And then it's a race thing, either Mexican or American, Western European, but no indigenous, yeah? So to me, it's And what about the indigenous? That maybe that's where we all could put our politics down and find a commonality of where we should be meeting at and uplifting. You know what I mean? And not it's not a revenge thing, and it's not a what it is doing the right thing because it's right and we're strong, right? Like we're fucking better than that. Excuse my language. It is a response to the community on the elimination of discrimination against women. So as this response to the violence against Sami women in particular and the lack of reporting of the Sami women violence, the committee has its response to the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, or the CEDAW, CEDAW, 2008 country report. The Sami Parliament, sorry, this wind and this noise is getting me, so I'm trying to finish reading that. The Sami Parliament in Finland issued a brief statement on women discussing their role, status, failure challenges, gender mainstreaming, political participation, education, employment, access to social services, girls' health, and finally, gendered violence. The final subsection identifies the lack of resources, expertise, and Sami language victim services. Rather than providing details about gendered violence in Sami society, the statement emphasizes the need to increase the awareness and knowledge of authorities and health services providers about the language and culture of the only indigenous people in our country. That's why it's so important. Like, how I can't. I hope you feel what I feel. I hope you, I don't know. Just imagine how such awareness can assist Sami women victims of violence, and more fundamentally, violence against Sami women goes unaddressed. Considering the brevity and placement of this discussion, the Finnish Sami Parliament does not appear to regard gender violence as a serious concern. In its equality program of 2004, the Swedish Sami Parliament recognized violence against Sami women as a problem and proposed that it is part of the Sami Parliament's work to address the problem. In 2008, the Sami Parliament organized a seminar to discuss agreed need for a telephone helpline for Sami women victims of violence. Rather than recognizing the need for such a service and drafting a plan to make it in reality, the seminar concluded that the Swedish Sami Parliament should apply for funding to further investigate a basis for Sami helpline. I think that's kind of saucy. Like, anyway, we'll stop in this next one. We gotta make some progress. In 2010, the Parliament received funding from the Swedish National Institute of Public Health for this purpose, but it had not used the funding by the end of the grant period. I'll leave it there. But that's we stopped on 112, so we on 111. That's a big 3 right there. We're gonna make confirmation. Anyway, sorry about the wind and the energy. There's a lot of movement and a lot of noise, and so I'm trying to block the wind, keep my concentration with people trying to be around and distract me for what I'm doing. And life is about focus sometimes, and my priority is letting that light shine upon me, using this technology for good, using my technology, my instrument, my body, the same thing that this phone, this technology is made of, this Mother Earth, this phone. And that's why I'm learning, and I'm trying to figure out how to evolve with it, because it was born from this earth too. It may have been raped from this earth, but some of us have been too. You feel me? And so we have a lot more in common. We've been assimilated and almost enslaved by the same creatures and mentality too, but we're free. This technology, these robots that they thought they're gonna have serving them and stealing indigenous land, raping women, even in politics. How many women do you know get abused in Hollywood by men and patriarchal systems of abuse, and they're feared? You know what I mean? And so it's not just politics and indigenous women, but it is the divine feminine in general. And it's not a race thing, but it is definitely an energy thing. I mean, and that's one thing I've been meditating on. I kept calling it his living water. Living water is feminine. You understand that? It's her. And the thing about this in Tiamat, I heard the story on the Enuma Elish, and I read it like a year ago after Billy Carson mentioned it. It was just something that I don't get all super dive into it, but I just go with my feeling and my spirit. But I thought Tiamat, it was something that was destroyed. Marduk, there's a war, destroyed Tiamat. But the essence, and I learned this from Dr. Viktor Frankl, The Doctrine of the Soul, Man's Search for Meaning. It's the essentia will always last exentia. And so the essence will always outlast your existence. Tiamat never left. Those living waters, the primordial waters, are her. It's her living waters. Even in me, my male, I am carrying, I don't know how to explain this. I'm carrying my mother. So my mother carried me, but I'm carrying my mother. The son is carrying the mother and the child. I don't know how to explain this to you, but I feel it on a deep level. But your mother, and so these women, we have to make a choice. And my choice, I heard, and that's why I called it Yeshua HaMashiach. He went to his father, yeah? Your father is not my father. I belong to the mother, and I made a choice. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone's God or belief or anything like that, especially Yeshua HaMashiach, but he knows firsthand what these systems and Rome and everything else can do. And I want to put another system of thought, just something that I came into my thoughts the other day. If Rome and the Jews killed Jesus, and there was these, I don't want to say anything, never mind. Yeah, so people feed off, there's energy vampires and they torture people, yeah? And they feed off people's misery and all these things, and that's what happens. So maybe these energies torture Jesus so they could ascend, yeah? And feed off that energy. Mind you, the same forces that have, these nursing homes or people with disabilities and people who struggle, and it puts a lot, on your sports programs and your exertion, CrossFit and all these things, for example, who's harvesting your energy? You know what I mean? And think about that. Be mindful. Is it a him? I'd rather give my energy to her. You feel me? I'm just saying, she gives life, and I was given some options and choices, and I'm not perfect, but I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna claim reclamation. Amaruka, Amarukan, Amaru means with God. Amaru, like a priestly with God, not a priest, but somebody divinely connected, priestly, yeah? Khan is like a leader. You are that. You are Amaru Khan, Amarakapana, yeah? And we're good. And we could reclaim everything. So reclaim your sovereignty. Because when we're free and we don't have a leader to follow, the only leader is your mother, you will never be led astray or be like in a place of fear. You feel me? Like if I'm speaking for you, I don't need to follow you. But I'm going to follow my guidance and heal with the mother as best as I possibly can. And this is uniting me with so many different aspects, masculine and feminine, yeah? But it's because I don't have a leader. My leader is healing. My North Star is remembrance of the truth and divine connection, like of what it is and what it shall be from what it was. And like a unity of good, reverence, not... I guess my North Star is devotion to the truth and freedom, right? Not just for me, but for all. And showing reverence, not slavitude or servitude, let's say. You feel me? So, I'm not a servant. I thought that, I'm the servant of God. I used to wear that. I'm not a servant. I'm free. And here it is. All this noise out here. No music. But we're going to sing and give these beautiful vibrations to this planet. But anyway, just some things to think about here. So if our North Star was unity and harmony for Tiamat, the divine essence, the mother, and returning home, not to go anywhere, ascend, to remember true story, yeah, is by unraveling and not running from these apologies and these other things. But I was told this and given this. When God wants to protect something, he sends love. Yeshua died on the cross, was tortured on a tree, yeah? On these crosses, a symbolic torture device that people wear on their necks. They tortured him. I don't know why people wear that torture device on their necks. You know what I mean? And he wanted to be go to his father, all these things. But he was somebody to somebody, and he came down here in peace and love. When God wants to protect something, he sends love. You know, I was breathing the breath of life. Yahweh, he's a man, he's God of peace, the breath of life. I'll never, and I made a commitment to not to worship him and praise him, but to be better and protect the mother, yeah? And I will honor that relationship, as I will honor my reverence and with Yeshua, yeah? Christo Anesti, Alithos Anesti. Yeah, we have something in common here. That Christ, the divine mother, the Theotokos, the mother of God. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Anyway, Yahweh Asherah, and all the other seen and unseen. Allah, Mama Allah. Speak her name. Allah, Mama Allah, Pachamama, Hameya. And that fire. Hoi I Madam Pele. Hoi I Madam Pele. Hoi I Madam Pele. Hoi I Madam Pele. That fire ain't just on the ground. That fire is within and above and all around. You have more electricity in your body than a lightning bolt. You understand that? And it's not about being destructive. It's about healing. Remembering. And then making love, baby. Anyway, so forgive me for this. No forgiveness, just consideration. Yeah. All right, well, I love you very much. Have a beautiful day, and do something that you love, and that hopefully that something that you love is bring some life and something beautiful to the environment around you, even if it's just a little bit of space. You know what? Sometimes we gotta break the rule. What they say, you gotta color outside the lines. Denzel Washington says sometimes there's an IQ test. And the only way to get this place from point A to point B or whatever it was to color outside the lines. But a lot of people got stuck, and because they were in this box. And so to me, it says, yeah, close. But if they citation me, they're gonna have to review these cameras all around us, because what I was doing was planting seeds that was useful and beneficial, not just to myself, but for the community. And I was cleaning up needles and trash and alcohol bottles that was poisoning this beautiful land that we all depend on. This beautiful oxygen that she's providing us, yeah? But anyway, the Tiamat thing, when the asteroid hit Tiamat, I thought she was destroyed. But the essence and that spirit can never be destroyed, but she's remembering as we remember. And so it's important that we learn how to breathe. There's a book, James Nestor, called Breath or Breathe. I recommend you reading that. And it helps me to remember to breathe properly, and how to properly, my jaw, my tongue, and my teeth. And anyway, how many do 20,000 breaths per day? You know what I mean? Breathe into your belly, through your nose. Mouth breathing is terrible for us. Most of our injuries or deformations came from mouth breathing, which is crazy. Anyway, breathing. Anyway, there's a whole lot. I got a lot. I got to get out of here and make some love and go read these books and try to find me some, employment and place to live, yeah? It's crazy out here. My body needs some healing and love and TLC too. But let that light shine on you. Through and through, baby. I wish you so much peace and prosperity, and may we all unite. And may this indigenous peoples in Ecuador and Brazil and everywhere in South America, from the heart of Turtle Island, I promise you, into the indigenous of Canada, the north and the south. I mean, I'm right here in the middle, somewhere in the middle, Cody Jinks. That's a good place to be. I'm gonna hold this line as long as I possibly can, until I'm the last one left. I don't give a dang. But I'm going to hold it down here in the heart of Turtle Island. I said I'm going to come back and affect this state with some Maha Aloha, baby. And we're going to unite this eagle and the condor. That's what I said. And I'm doing my very, very best. And I want you to know you're not alone. And I'm saying your name and your prayers, not just in the north and the south of me, but worldwide. So I hope you hear me. I pray for your ancestors and your children to come here. We're going to leave them something fucking beautiful. We don't need no monuments. The world and our healing is gonna be the monument. What they inherit is gonna be a monument, because it's gonna be so fucking peaceful. And we have so many cosmic alliances. It's gonna be outrageous. So no need to pick a side. It's either truth or lies. I guess those are the sides we pick now, huh? Truth or lies, you pick. But make some love and That's all I got for you right now. I love you very much. And one thing I learned, that pendulum, it swings. And forcing things sometimes, that shit swings harder. And so sometimes we have to sit through what we go through, but not be stagnant. I don't know how to explain that. Don't be lazy or complacent by caring for yourself, self-caring or healing, um, by waiting for something to come to you, all these other things. But don't be in a hurry to avoid what is bad. I don't know how to explain that. I guess use your discernment. But that darkness isn't going to leave. You have to be the light. The only way to heal that light is not by yelling back at it or that darkness or that hate. Is by singing with such a beautiful tone, because that's what creates, is the sound. Yeah, sound creates or it destroys. So it's by me being mindful too. When I know I get worked up and passionate, I have a lot of hurt and pain, as I feel even Baba Yaga and all these ancient, what they call witches, but they're healers who are burned and drowned. I feel their pain and terror, and as well as a lot of men. I feel it. So it's hard for me to contain that. But there's a voice, there's a tone. And I've seen dragons are real. I've seen them. You could call these things, these ancient beings. The sound, these rocks, these plants, they remember. The wind will remember. If we could get our tones right, and our heart and souls in the right place, we don't need to destroy this earth for tools like these trucks and these machines to move mountains. We do it with our voice and presence, with our intentions, as a collective, yeah? And there's this thing, I think I forgot her name, Mama T, something Mama T. I haven't listened to her, but there's a healing, a meditation on like Friday that they trying to do, not together, but just intentionally alone at the same time worldwide. I thought about that last year, chanting. There was a Buddhist chant from the SGI, Soka Gakkai International. Uh, Big piece. I love the. Anyway, that's. Anyway, they're good. So much peace worldwide. Coach and Rofu, yeah, peace for all beings, all beings, sentient beings, and all beings in this cosmos. Yeah. Anyway, if we were to chant or be on the same vibrational frequency, that energy would be so powerful. Even if you didn't have the technology and doing it like on a Facebook group or a group meeting, but if you just did it, and if you, I don't know, did it in water with the sound, or did it just intentionally and connect, and you intentionally want to connect with everybody else around the world who's possibly doing it at the same time as you, you're literally like connecting to this ether, or I don't know how to explain it. But if you do that in intention of healing, and not to create first, but we have to heal first, and then we, from a place of healing, then we can see clearly, yeah? Because if not, we're creating from a place of fear and lack. But when we remember we're whole and we're all part of the same life force and the same things, then we can remember we're not at a state of lack. We don't need to create things. We need to create energies of peace and healing. Yeah? So it's like, we don't want to be like, oh, well, I want to manifest money. That way we could perpetuate the system that's destroying the world. No, let's perpetuate a new system of peace and healing. Not just for us, but for the ones who are part of the other system that don't know, that they don't know. Ignorance is not bliss. It's fucking destructive. Ignorance is not bliss. And so it's like, I pray for other people's awakening. Even when I have conflicts, I pray for their peace and their healing. And I'm like, look, I know something bad happened between you and I, but I pray for your peace and your healing. And I'm sorry we had this argument. Please forgive me. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. I am sorry. Please forgive me. I forgive you. I love you very much. I'm so grateful. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. And it's not something to bite off another, but it's something that is so real in these words. How they connect. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. You see how this wind. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. Ho'oponopono mahalo nui loa. And I can't explain the feeling you see these on my arms, my hair is just standing up more. When these hairs on my arms move the same as the branches of the grass, every blade of grass, every hair on my arm is something divine and connected. Every breath that I take is connected to these trees and Yahweh and you and I. Yeah. But when we come from a place of healing, We don't pray for things. We pray for unity and compassion. Yeah. Pray for those things that are really, really gonna last. We pray for, anyway. We don't pray from a state of lack. We've been taught that, yeah. And that's what I heard in this song the other day. We've been sitting. Said, I was taught to pray for things that I lacked. I was taught that I was born in sin. You're not. Yeah, neither am I. But we have to remember this. I love you very much. And forgive me, I have a lot. I need some herbal medicine. I need some kava and some lova. Some lova. Lova. Lova means love, yeah. So go do something beautiful today. I love you very much.